Am I the asshole? 6 stories of Am I the asshole, Part 1.
I've been with my boyfriend for 11 years, since I was 15. His mother has hated me since the first day she met me. She hated me due to my ethnicity, Kosovan Albanian. She hated me due to my career. I work as a model and she decided that makes me an empty-headed, vain, shallow person. Then when I told her I still planned to go to university alongside my career, she said I was doing it to impress my boyfriend. I've since left uni with a distinction, and her new reason to hate me is I try too hard? She has also insisted I've cheated on him throughout our entire relationship, which is a ridiculous claim. I've never even kissed another man in my whole life. I have zero desire to cheat and never will. Late last year she attempted to void the insurance on my boyfriend's motorbikes. She tried to do this under my name so, hypothetically, when he was arrested for riding with no insurance and called his insurance company, I'd get the blame. After this happened, my boyfriend and I agreed to cut her out. However, it hasn't stuck. She left my boyfriend alone and respected his wishes for NC, but she's continued to contact and harass me. This leads to the last few weeks. My boyfriend works as a motorcycle test rider and he got in an awful motorbike crash while working. As such, I now need to care for him. I'm okay with that and I'm focusing on seeing it as an opportunity for us to get closer. It's been nice, honestly. However, his mother has been awful to me. She's called me litany of terms. From things as tame as stupid to things as awful as a nasty Serbian half-breed. I'm not Serbian and she's well aware that calling a Kosovan a Serb is offensive. I tried to block her, so she started making new iMessage accounts and began to continuously harass me via those accounts. Then came Friday night. The police turned up at our door. I was pretty confused and was quickly told they were there to do a welfare check as they'd received multiple claims of horrific abuse I was apparently putting my poor boyfriend under. Obviously they quickly discovered he was fine, albeit grumpy, and they left. I know for a fact it was his mother. Some of the details the police mentioned made that obvious. I'm now at a point where I've realized I literally cannot do this. I'm going to press charges against her for the insurance and harassment. It's a crime in the UK, and I'm likely going to sue her for damages. For the sake of my mental health, I need to do this. I don't want to be a victim and she needs to be forced to stop. I have mentioned my intentions to her if she doesn't back off, and she's pretty much mocking me and saying I won't. I absolutely will. I just feel like this morally may make me an awful person. She sucks, I know this. However, she's old and miserable enough as is, and I feel like doing this may ruin whatever small amount of life she has left. It feels like it may be too far. I really don't know though, and I genuinely cannot be objective here. Would I be the a-hole here if I did this? I am female, 25 years old. I work in a small office, only about 15 people, and it's separated by a couple of floors. We have a chat at work, and one of my coworkers, M60s, chatted in asking if anyone has some tea, because his throat was feeling dry. A few moments pass and nobody answered him, so I responded that I have some raspberry leaf tea. Raspberry leaf tea is medicinally used for regulating a woman's menstrual cycle and easing PMS. I did not think to mention this in the chat. I'm on my period, so that is what I had at the moment. He accepted, so I brought it down to his desk, but when he saw the pink packaging and healthy cycle on it, he got uncomfortable. I tried to assure him it's not just for that and it's actually a mild tea, so with some honey it should help his throat. He again told me he didn't want it by saying it's not meant for me. I didn't press it any further and went back to my desk. Later that afternoon, I find out he had been complaining about me trying to give him menstrual tea and that it was inappropriate because he's a man. I'll admit I got really annoyed here. He asked for tea, and nobody else offered any, so the way I see it, I was doing him a favor by offering what I had. I did not see any reason for him to not only be so offended, but to complain to my coworkers and make it sound like I was trying to poison him with a feminine product. I especially don't appreciate this last part because being in a small office, everything is like a game of telephone and any tidbit of gossip always blows up by the end of the day. I direct messaged him saying I was sorry that I made him uncomfortable, but it's just tea. There is no way that tea would cause any harm to him as a man, and I do not appreciate him talking about me to our co-workers. He read the message and did not answer, so I am sure he is still upset with me. Am I the asshole? My husband and I have been together for 8 years, recently married, 15 months ago. We have a 4-year-old son. For the past 3 years I have worked from home, such a godsend, 12-hour shifts 4 days a week. It's a struggle, because my husband gets home from work at 1 a.m. and takes 2 to 3 hours to unwind, so he doesn't get to bed until maybe 3 or 4 a.m. and sleeps basically all day until he has to leave for work. On his days off he spends that with me and our son, obviously, But I have noticed that as time goes on, he does less and less around the house. Before this he would make dinner on his days off, take care of all of son's needs and do basic cleaning so that I could have a breather. Now he doesn't make dinner at all, falls asleep on the couch by 7, so I have son duty 24/7 and hasn't lifted a finger to clean in weeks. So, on my 3 days off a week, I end up having to deep clean my entire house because I don't have time to do anything on my work days aside from the bare minimum. 2 weeks ago, I asked him for some help. He happily obliged for all of 30 minutes before taking off to go help a buddy with his car and didn't do jack squat after returning home because he was tired. I needed a break. I told him this. His way of comforting me was by hugging me and saying you're doing such a good job. Didn't offer to help or anything. So, I made a plan. Asked my mom to take my son for 4 days and planned a vacation for myself with work. I dropped my son off yesterday with my mom. I only did this because my husband obviously works, and took off to our cabin 58 miles away to relax. My husband started texting me last night asking where I was. I told him the cabin. He asked where our son was, so I told him. He then started going off about how this is selfish of me and that if he had realized I wasn't merely stressed out that he would have helped out more. Used the argument that he too is stressed out and tired. He claims my communication on the issue was terrible and that I could have been more open and laid it out. Says that I'm an off for taking a vacation without him because he could have used it too. But the thing is, I straight out told him I needed a break. I asked him for help. He disregarded it all. But now I'm curious if I'm an asshole. All of this starts 2 days ago, the day before yesterday. Schools are open in our area. I live in a 3-bedroom house. My husband and I rent one, and the other 2 are rented by a couple and their 3 kids, 5F, 9F, and 16M. We have a mini fridge in our room and use it to store things we don't want the others to have access to, like alcohol. We have a lot of alcohol. The locks on the doors are really shitty, they're just those inside doors you can open with a bobby pin, and the landlord won't let us change them. My husband and I were in the backyard, and our door was locked from the inside. Unbeknownst to us, our roommate's son, who is 16, unlocked our door and snuck inside. He stole 5 bottles of wine, a bottle of rum, 3 bottles of vodka, and 2 bottles of whiskey. I didn't notice until I got a drink that night. The next day, yesterday, I asked my roommate about it. She told me that she and her husband don't drink and her kids are angels and would never do something like that. However, yesterday night her son snuck out around 10, when he was supposed to be asleep. She didn't find out until he came in drunk at 2 a.m. She asked him where he was, how he got drunk, and where that alcohol came from. He fessed up and told her that he got it from our room when we were outside. This morning, she comes to me and tells me about what happened. I, foolishly believing that she's going to apologize, tell her that it's not a problem and teenagers do stupid things sometimes. Instead, she tells me that it's my fault for tempting him by having alcohol. She says that I need to get rid of all the alcohol in my room because her little angel is tempted to drink because of that. I tell her it's my room and the lease specifically states that we can't go in each other's rooms without permission. She said that he's just a kid and it's our responsibility as adults to keep him away from bad things like alcohol. Once again, I tell her that I am not responsible for her son, and I will not throw away a mini fridge full of alcohol because he can't keep his hands to himself. She says I'm an asshole for having alcohol in a home where children also live and it could really harm her younger children if they get to it. They could even die if they drink enough of it. Am I the asshole? I'm 23 years old, female. I have 2 children, 5 female and 3 male. My style of parenting is not the most popular. One main thing of mine is I do not punish my kids, I ignore bad behavior and reward good behavior, or if they're doing something wrong, I simply redirect them. It works amazing for me and my children are both very well adjusted and behaved. Something else I do is give them full control over their own bodies. They decide how they want their hair, what clothes they wear, if they want to be touched or not, etc. My daughter has a shaved head and she's honestly rocking it. My parents, specifically my mother, hate this. My sister had a wedding and asked them to wear formal clothes. My daughter wore a suit and my son wore a dress, which upset pretty much everyone. My sister was thankfully okay with it, and said while she'd have appreciated my daughter in a dress, to be bridesmaid, she understood it was her decision to make, not ours. She didn't mind my son because he was flower boy and she told him wearing a dress fit the aesthetic better, so a win all round. Anyway, my mother is getting increasingly pissed off. She gets butthurt when she wants a hug and they say no, and I don't force them to hug her. She continues to buy my daughter feminine clothes that get promptly donated to charity and insists on buying my son boys' toys which he never uses. This has become a huge problem. She's upset because she thinks my kids don't like her, and I explained they'd like her more if she just left them alone. They can talk, they have opinions, ask them how they're feeling and work with that. Recently this has progressed into her calling me a neglectful mother. Apparently, they'll never learn boundaries, which makes me laugh because she's the one who doesn't understand boundaries, but I digress. Apparently, they'll never grow up and will be bullied in school, and become snowflakes. She also claims they'll become badly behaved once they grow up. I think she's being a bitch for trying to change the way I parent, and she thinks I'm driving a force between my kids and her. Am I the asshole? I, female, 18, have two little sisters, 15 and 16. My mom had an affair when I was 14 which caused my parents' divorce and she later remarried her husband. He has a hell of a lot of kids. My mom never even gave us a chance to get to know them or anything. We were forced to move into a bigger house and call them family. I still live with my mom. Due to my dad in and out of the hospital, I was never able to live with him. Now, we can't even visit him because he's high risk and could easily catch COVID, so we're still figuring out how we can see him without risking his health. My mom pulled a stunt last Monday. She left with her husband for a week to have them time. She didn't say shit to me nor any of the other kids until I called her asking where she was. She didn't even leave any money for us to shop for food. Yes, she left during a fucking pandemic. She returned literally an hour ago, 12 a.m., and I blew up at her because I missed work all week and might get fired. I missed practice and risked getting kicked off the team, and the three oldest kids, not my bio sisters, were so horrible behaved the entire week. I told her they're not my responsibility for one, and she knows I'm not comfortable babysitting anyone's kids except my sisters. I told her the next time she and her husband wanted them time to lock themselves in their room rather than leaving and being inconsiderate. She started crying and said I'm making her feel like a bad mom when she didn't do anything wrong. My aunt called me and said I'm grown and need to get over my little girl feelings and apologized to my mom because I was mean for no reason. I said I had a reason to be mean and I wasn't apologizing. I'm only now writing this because I feel like maybe I was over the top and asshole-ish, so am I the asshole?